Are you an expert looking for ways to build your business? Do you have an important message that you know is going to impact the lives of others? Do you want to learn from some of the leading experts in a variety of industries on how to position your message, grow your business, and increase your revenues? Then you're in the right place with Power Up for Profits. Welcome, everybody. This is Kathleen Gage, and you are listening to the Power Up for Profits podcast show. And today I'm really excited with my featured expert, who is a first-time author, and her book is out there making some changes for people. Let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Working in a nursing home for over 4 years, Martika Whylly has witnessed death and dying up close, and she has written an autobiography based on her experiences with death and loss. Martika loves the art of grieving, of the grieving process and spiritual growth. What lights her up about the stages of grief is knowing that she's helping people emotionally and spiritually heal. Martika comes to us with a passion for raising the awareness on what it takes to grieve with ease and to live a life filled with meaning, passion, fun, and to the fullest. She's the author of Having Fun with God, a book report for Miss Winfrey. Welcome, Martika.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You know, what I love about what you focus on and the book you've written is you and I have had conversations about when I was my mom's caretaker and the whole process of, one, really being there to take care of somebody who's going through the death process, but then the whole grieving process after the fact. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've done in the whole death and dying process, what you do in your work, and then let's lead that into how you decided to write this book.
Okay. Well, what I've done with the grieving process, well, I've read a lot of books to help me deal with the deaths that I've had over the years, and in turn just help other people that have also been going through a death or a loss of somebody that I can relate to. And it's interesting because it can happen so unexpectedly, where you come across somebody who you don't realize is grieving until you actually start having a conversation. And then when I tell them, you know, yes, I lost my mother as well, but at the age of 15, and then they feel for me because, you know, they still have their mother at 80 something years old. I said, well, just be grateful you've been able to spend all that time with your mom. I say we're all going to die. It's something that we don't really think about until it happens. And so it becomes a shock. And then, of course, there's grieving process, you know, the denial, the anger, the depression, the bargaining, the guilt. And usually we're not taught that in school. And so when it does happen, it can be very traumatic. Mm-hmm. And that is something that over the years I've read about. I wanted to understand why we grieve the way we grieve. You know, there's different people grieve differently. It depends on the relationship that you had with the person, how long you've had that person in your life. And so I just find it very interesting, the whole process and how we grow from that and how our relationships with other people develop and grow, because now that other person's gone, we just have each other. Let's really make this work.
So in what you do professionally, you have worked in a nursing home for over 4 years. Mm-hmm. What have you learned on a whole different level about the whole death and dying process?
Oh, well, it's just like giving birth. Every birth is different. Every death is different. And we don't know. Sometimes you could see somebody slowly deteriorating, you know, that mm-hmm. they're going to go soon. And other times, you know, somebody could be well and be joking around. The next minute they're gone. And so it's hard. It's always hard because you don't expect it. It becomes very sudden. You just see people kind of deteriorate in a nursing home. It can be very stressful, and you know, they slowly decline. And so mm-hmm. it's a bit heart-wrenching when you see somebody slowly going.
And I would imagine it's even more heart-wrenching if they don't have family that comes to visit or friends that come to visit, and mm-hmm. and you know, from my experience when I watched my mother go through her decline, she would be in the hospital for extended periods. And it always amazed me, the patients that were in there that never had visitors. So I took it upon myself to go in and just, even hug them. I mean, just do what I could to bring a little comfort. So what made you decide to write a book, and how is that connected with your whole mission of raising awareness around the whole death and dying process?
Well, actually, I started writing the book almost kind of by accident, if that makes any sense. It was a kind of a weird situation where I kept seeing death itself, the man in black, if that makes, and so I started writing about it, hoping that I wouldn't see him anymore, because it was just an eerie experience. So I started writing, and I noticed that it was really helping. It was the best therapy, the writing about all the deaths and what has happened in my life. And then I just came to the conclusion that I should probably be doing more of this, helping people grieve with ease, because I know a lot about death and loss. I've experienced a lot of it. I've overcome a lot of what, the grief. Of course, when somebody close to me dies, I still go through the process. It hasn't changed anything, but I have a better understanding of it, which has helped me live a more fulfilling life, to have fun in every moment, because you never know when we're going to die.
Right.
So, and that's the only problem, is when you have too much fun, and then tomorrow comes and people remember what you did yesterday, and
It's like, whoops.
Well, it's always
Darn.
good. It's always good, but it's like, hey, I remember what you did, and I'm gonna get you back. Thanks for you.
So with your Grieve with Ease, that's your website, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So so let's make sure that people know how to reach you. Go ahead and give your web address.
It's grievewithease.com. Yeah, and there you could find information on how to grieve and how to contact me, and or get other information. I put other books besides my own that could help people with the process of grieving.
Excellent.
Help them to understand afterlife,
Right. So that's grievewithease.com, and we'll put that in the show notes. And what will people find as far as resources on your website? Of course, your book they'll find on there, and which is Having Fun with God, a book report from Miss Winfrey. We got to talk about how you came up with that title. That's interesting. But they'll find that, and they'll find other resources. What else will they find on your website?
They'll find blogs. I have been blogging a little bit, although I haven't this year yet. I want to put podcasts in there as opposed to just content and photographs. So I was starting to do a little bit more of that, to talk about the grief, so people have something to listen to as well as read. Okay. And now the title for your book, how did you come up with Having Fun with God, a book report for Miss Winfrey? Well, to be honest, that was interesting. One day I was writing, and all of a sudden it was like the creativity stopped, because I started to kind of let go and let God partway through the book. And I thought I had writer's block after I wrote about something, and then that little voice said, you don't want to give yourself writer's block energy. Why don't you take a break? What's the perfect time? And so I looked at the clock. It was 5:04. I said, oh, Oprah show will be on. Let's see what she's saying. So I get up, I turn on the TV, and there she was talking about a book report she handed in when she was a little girl before the due date, and became the main discussion in the teacher's lounge. And I'm watching this thinking, I've heard the story before. This must be a repeat. But it was October. It was a new season. She was wearing a new outfit, a new hairdo. And so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why is she mentioning this? I've heard it before. Maybe she'll add more to the story. And there was no more to the story than I've already heard. And I thought, okay, it was kind of like, well, why was she keep bragging about something to that effect? And then that little voice says, why don't you make writing a book report for her, then that'll learn her to maybe not brag so much about it. It became a joke, basically, a joke between me, myself, and the Most High, or whatever you want to call it, that little inner voice. And so I went back on the computer and I started writing, and I thought, okay, I'll dedicate this experience. And then I started into the story, and then it just it became a bit of a book report, because I do love Oprah. And part of it was inspired by her, but it wasn't until, it was just kind of a going with the flow
Right.
type thing. Yeah.
Have you sent her a copy of your book?
No, I haven't sent her a copy personally because I don't have an address for her. Not that I'm aware of, because I did look it up, but I did mention it on social media that I had.
Keep mentioning it because you never know.
Yeah.
You know, actually, Wayne Dyer was discovered on an AM radio station by the producer of the Johnny Carson show. And you may not remember Johnny Carson, but he was like the big name many years ago.
Yes.
And, you know, Wayne Dyer was selling books out of the trunk of his car, and he was going from radio station to radio station. And that was back in the day where you had to show up to the studio. And the producer heard him on this very obscure radio station. One thing led to another, and the rest, as they say, is history. But you know, with the process of writing your book, how long did it take you from when you first started writing to when the book was actually published?
I first started writing it in August 2007, and then I finished August 2010.
Oh, okay. So it took you 3 years.
3 years. But in that 3 years, I worked part-time at an office. So it was contract work. So in the spring and fall, I was at work, but in the winter and summer, I'd be at home writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for those people who say, "Oh, I want to write a book, but I just don't have the time." Now, I know you outside of this whole conversation that we're having, and I know you're very driven, and that when you put your mind to something, you get it done. And I've been impressed with that because a lot of people will find reasons why they can't do something. Talk to the new author who says, "Oh, I really want to have a book done, but I can't because of X, Y, and Z." How would you advise them on overcoming their own writer's block or their own resistance?
Oh, well, I would say just kind of get out of your own way, you know, kind of let go, just go with the flow. I found the introduction was the hardest part to write of that book. And then after I just let go and let God, if you will, you know, I just let go and just let the creativity flow. And I didn't know whether I was writing anything. I didn't know if it was any good. I didn't have faith in myself. I didn't trust myself. I went to 2 writing classes. So, you know, to get feedback, one of the writing courses is you had to pair up with somebody and you exchange constructive criticism on the other person's writing. And that was an eye-opener. I was told I was on the right track, which was great because I was just really kind of letting go and letting God with the writing. Because I found it, talking about the past, talking about death, it was so painful that was the best way to go.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned the afterlife and, you know, letting go and letting God. And obviously you've got a very strong spiritual foundation. What have you learned about the whole experience of somebody transitioning, and what happens from your perspective? What is your belief of what happens when somebody does leave the physical plane?
Well, I believe that we're all creators and we're always creating constantly, even when we when we go cross over. If we believe there's nothing happens after we die, then nothing will happen. I believe that once you cross over and you see that light, some people are afraid of the light. I don't think they go into the light, and then they become spirits in the physical, which we call ghosts and apparitions, which I've seen them. But I believe once you see the light and you cross over and you're into that light, because I've experienced that as well, that to me is love in its purest form, whether you want to call it God, the universe, Jah, Allah. To me, it's just pure love. And once you experience that, you'll never fear death ever. Like I never, for me, I don't fear death. I welcome it. I can't wait. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but when you do cross over, you see the loved ones on the other side. Everybody gets a homecoming party, right, as they say. And I was actually invited to my father's homecoming party when he came to me in a dream a few days after he died. And I didn't understand what was happening. But later on, I understood he was just inviting me to his homecoming party.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we still live, yeah.
You know, I know that when my dad was going through his transition, he actually started talking with people who for him, they were there, they were very present. We couldn't see them, but old friends from the military during World War II, and he was going on a trip. And, I've studied that phenomena a lot about when somebody is ready to leave, they often say, I have to go on a trip, or they, want to pack a suitcase. They want something that they can take with them. And fortunately, I did a lot of research on it to where I was able to support my father in his journey. And I remember during the time I read a book by James Twyman called The Barn Dance. And it was about his ex-wife who actually had been murdered. And she came to him in dreams. And she basically let him know that she was okay on the other side. And what you say about when people don't think anything is on the other side, that's what they'll experience. That was my mom's resistance to passing. She held on and held on. And I said, why are you holding on? Because I believe if somebody's ready, that we should support them in that decision. Yes. And that's my own personal belief. And I had my first death and dying experience when I was 9 years old. Crossed over, saw the light, and it was pretty, they thought I was going to pass. And after that, I had a whole different perspective of what it meant to die. But with my mom, when she said, well, what's on the other side? There's nothing waiting for me. And what I said was, Daddy's waiting for you. He's been waiting. And when you're ready to go, he'll open his arms. And her first daughter, I said, she's waiting for you. Your mother's waiting for you. And that gave her the comfort to actually cross over. And that's why, when I first heard about what you do and what your mission is, I was so excited about that, because I know for me, had those resources not been available, it would not have been as comforting. So with your vision of what you see the book doing and the work that you do, where do you see yourself a year from now, or what kind of, what's the impact that you hope to have?
Well, I hope to bring awareness about, grief and dying and what happens after, because it happens all the time. And, there's so many natural disasters and other things that happen unexpectedly, and people are unprepared. I hope to, do the summit thing that you're talking to me about. I've been considering that. Going to take part in the one that's coming up tomorrow, so I can get a feel of what that's all about. But I'm hoping to just help people have a better understanding about death and dying, and that it's not something to be afraid of. Right. Most people that have experienced the light or had a near-death experience aren't afraid of it. Now, if we all had that, we would all probably live in a very different world. It would look very different. People wouldn't be so uptight. Right. Because they are so serious. And I'm like, I could die tomorrow. I don't want to, let's enjoy the moment, enjoy the day. You don't know.
Exactly.
Life is so fragile. We take it for granted. It is very fragile. So, but just to have that awareness and give people some kind of hope that when they do die, that they're greeted by their loved ones. Like for me, I imagine a huge homecoming party. Like everyone's going to be there. Like I'm talking to Elvis and Michael Jackson, some of my favorite celebrities, not just my family members, but
I love it.
Oh yeah, I'm like, it'll be off the hook. Like I want everybody to feel that,
Right.
You can feel sometimes. I'm a little bit sensitive, and I sometimes can feel when somebody has gone, like something is not right. I could sense it. I'm wearing a lot of black. Why am I wearing a lot of black? I've had that before, and it was one of my moms, her son. My adopted mom's, her son had passed, and I thought, okay, that's why I was wearing a lot of black.
Wow.
And I could sense it, but I couldn't put my finger on why I was doing that.
Absolutely. So, and I'm talking with Martika Whylly, and she is the author of Having Fun with God, a book report for Miss Winfrey, and she also has Grieve with Ease, and I would encourage people to go to her website. So I want to go a little further into what it means to be an author. When your book was published, tell me if anything for you changed in just the way you perceived how you're doing your work in the world.
Well, it gave me, I guess, a bit of credibility to the extent where, yes, I've experienced something, I've written it out, I have a lot more knowledge about it. And I have been helping people, maybe not on a professional level where they're coming to me and we're sitting down and they're paying me for my services, but just, strangers on a bus, the odd person in passing, where you see maybe a couple of people arguing, you're like, well, you shouldn't argue. You don't know if you're going to see each other again.
Mm-hmm.
And and then they're like, oh, the stranger is really putting us in our place. So, and just people, loved ones that have also experienced death and, of somebody that they really cared about, just being there for them. Most of the time, just being there for them. It's not so much what you're saying or what you're doing. It's just knowing that you're there.
And what would you say for somebody who just lost a loved one and they're going through the grieving process? What, from your experience in your professional life as an author, as your life's work, what can you recommend to people on how to bring comfort to another person?
Well, I would probably tell them that their loved one is still with us. They're not really dead, and it's hard for them to understand that if they don't know much about death. But I would also let them know that I'm here for them if ever they need somebody to talk to, and maybe even give them some information of any counseling, free counseling that is offered in their community.
Nice.
Because I know that there's places out there that'll help people that is free.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, after my mom passed, I was going through a pretty deep grieving process, and I said, I just want to sign. I just want to sign. And literally, it was like this coin popped and fell on the ground. And actually, I keep it right on my desk, and it's a coin of an angel. And I don't know if people can see this.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my
Where'd
mom
you get
really,
that?
my mom sent it to me after she passed. It
Wow.
just popped in front of me because I was asking for a sign, and it was like, give me a sign. And it literally just like fell. It's
From
like, where
out
did
of
that
thin
come
air.
from? Yeah. And it's like, so for me, I do believe that my loved ones are with me. I believe my mom's with me very, very strongly. And my sister, who I never met, she passed before I was even born, but she's got a very strong presence in my life. And, that brings me a lot of comfort. So I really appreciate what you're doing. And again, how can people get in touch with you? How can they find you and get more information?
Through grievewithEase.com.
Okay, grievewithEase.com. So in closing, Martika, is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't talked about?
Just knowing that life is fragile, to love the people that are around you, to be grateful for them, and that there is help for people that have lost somebody, that are grieving somebody, that you're not alone, that there is help out there. There is more help than you realize, and I'm here to help as well.
Wonderful. So visit Grieve with Ease, go to Amazon and get Martika's book, Having Fun with God, a book report from Miss Winfrey. And Martika, thank you so much for sharing part of your experience as an author and with the life work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. This is Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits podcast, encouraging you. Subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification, and leave a review. Have a great day.